Let's jump right into this explainer and unpack the incredibly complex world of big data. Now, it's a term we hear thrown around constantly, right? You see it in boardrooms, tech blogs, the news. But actually pinning down how all of its moving parts work together, well, that can feel pretty overwhelming. So today, we're going to cut straight through all that jargon using a truly brilliant, comprehensive sketch note created by S. Suresh Kumar. We're using this visual anatomy to understand not just what data is, but how it flows, how it's processed, and most importantly, how it actually becomes valuable.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll decode the data revolution. Second, we'll look at the dimensions of big data. Third, we'll go inside the data ecosystem. Fourth, we'll break down the data insights process. And finally, we'll look at unlocking tangible business value.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, Decoding the Data Revolution. Now, this incredibly detailed drawing serves as our entire map for today. What Suresh Kumar has done here is visually connect literally every moving part of the data landscape into one cohesive environment. We're talking everything from the smart devices sitting in our pockets to massive, sprawling server farms, right down to the people and the algorithms trying to make sense of it all. It is all interconnected. But before we get completely lost in the gears and machinery here, we need to ground ourselves in the core purpose of this entire system. Down in the bottom right corner of the map, the artist gives us our anchor. It defines big data as, quote, the revolution of using vast data to predict patterns and inform decisions. And I really want to emphasize that word, revolution. Big data isn't just about, having a ton of storage space on a hard drive somewhere. It is a fundamental shift in how businesses operate. It's about taking this absolute ocean of historical and real-time information and using it as a lens to look forward, to predict what's going to happen next, and to make highly informed strategic decisions, rather than just relying on your gut or guesswork. Moving right along to Section 2, the dimensions of big data, where we explore the famous V's. First up is volume. The artist vividly illustrates this on the left side of the map as just a massive influx of devices, phones, tablets, sensors, all pouring an endless stream of information into these towering server stacks. And listen, we aren't talking about megabytes or gigabytes anymore. We are talking about zettabytes. To put that completely wild number into perspective, a single zettabyte is a trillion gigabytes. That is literally enough space to store billions of years of HD video. This sheer mind-boggling scale of information being captured every single second is both the foundational challenge and the massive opportunity of big data. Next, we have variety. Because data doesn't just arrive neatly organized into little rows and columns anymore, as the sketch shows with these flowing multicolored streams, we are dealing with completely unstructured data like raw video files and audio recordings. Then we have semi-structured data, like your complex spreadsheets. And finally, highly structured data like JSON objects used by web developers. A robust big data system has to somehow ingest, organize, and synthesize all of these completely different flavors of information simultaneously. For our third V, velocity, the sketch note uses this perfect metaphor of a high-speed race car zooming along a track. This represents the high-speed data stream. Because the reality is, data is being generated so incredibly fast now that organizations simply can't afford to sit around and wait weeks for a report to generate. The sheer speed of data demands real-time analytics. The machinery of big data has to process this information almost the instant it's created, giving decision-makers the power to react to situations in the very moment they're happening. Finally, we have veracity, depicted down on the bottom left as a scientist carefully examining charts through a magnifying glass. Now, veracity is all about data integrity and trust. Think about it. You can have the largest volume, the widest variety, and the absolute fastest velocity, but if your data is inaccurate, corrupted, or heavily biased, well, your predictions are going to be completely useless. Ensuring that the information is truthful and reliable is that absolute vital quality control check. It's the only thing preventing the entire system from collapsing on itself. Let's dive into Section 3, inside the data ecosystem. This is where the magic happens. If you look directly at the center of the map, you'll see this incredibly complex web of connections. And notice, it's not just a bunch of supercomputers blinking in a dark room. It's an environment where human ingenuity meets raw computational power. You've got the predictive expert. These are your human data scientists and analysts, working hand in hand with advanced technological nodes. This collaboration right here, this is the beating heart of modern data science. This ecosystem is essentially the brain of the whole operation. The sketch explicitly labels its core components: machine learning, artificial intelligence, and predictive modeling. Machine learning algorithms digest that crazy volume and variety of data to learn patterns without being explicitly programmed to do so. Then, artificial intelligence applies that learning to actually solve complex problems, and predictive modeling uses all of it together to forecast future trends. And these aren't just isolated tools, they continuously feed into one another in this dynamic, endless loop, getting smarter and way more accurate with every single byte of data they process.
Next up, Section 4, the data insights process, which is basically our data assembly line.
Over on the right side of the sketch, we see a continuous four-step loop driven by gears, labeled the Big Data Insights process. Getting value out of data doesn't happen by magic. It's a very rigorous step-by-step methodology. Step 1 is collection, physically gathering that vast volume. Step 2 is processing, cleaning it all up and wrestling with its variety and veracity. Step 3 is analysis, applying that AI and machine learning ecosystem we just talked about. And finally, Step 4 brings us to actionable insights. And notice that it's drawn as a circle. Why? Because the actionable insights you generate directly inform what new data you need to collect next, keeping the entire engine constantly running, iterating, and improving.
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, unlocking tangible business value. This is the fifth V, value.
The artist explicitly maps out these tangible business benefits right at the very edge of the insights process. When businesses actually successfully navigate this entire ecosystem, they reap major, game-changing rewards. So what does that actually look like in the real world? The sketch outlines 5 specific outcomes. You've got monetization, literally turning data into dollars; competitive advantage, outsmarting your slower rivals; risk mitigation, foreseeing and sidestepping costly pitfalls before they happen; customer personalization, tailoring experiences to individual users so it feels bespoke; and efficiency gains, streamlining your operations to save time and resources. This completely proves that big data isn't just some abstract academic theory. It's a very real tool for driving massive real-world advantages. Ultimately, the entire purpose of this massive digital infrastructure, the zettabytes of servers, the high-speed streams, the artificial intelligence, the predictive experts, it's all captured in one final, powerful statement on our map: transforming data and insights into business benefits and new revenue. It's entirely about bridging the gap between raw, chaotic, unstructured inputs and structured, highly profitable outputs. So we've unpacked the sheer volume, the blinding speed, the AI ecosystem, and the ultimate real-world value of big data. Considering how structured and incredibly powerful this system is, I want to leave you with a thought about your own environment. Take a look around at the data your organization, or even you personally, generate every single day. If your raw data is constantly flowing into this high-speed ecosystem, what hidden, highly actionable value is just sitting there, waiting to be unlocked today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep looking for those patterns.